Anu, could you please do the invocation?
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavathitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. Good morning and good evening. Welcome back. We will continue the discussion of chapter 4. So today, what we are planning to do is 3 verses, 18, 19, and 20. These verses, in fact, from 18 to 24, is the essence of Advaita Vedanta. These verses are the message of the Upanishads. So what we are studying is about the ultimate knowledge. There is nothing more we can talk about the vision of the Advaita Vedanta. So naturally, it is going to be difficult. But since we systematically develop the thoughts, it should not be that difficult. Once you understand it, it's not that difficult. So with that, we can do a quick recap of where we are, and we can start. So we talked about the Vamsha Kathanam, or the teaching lineage of this tradition. This is not a new knowledge Krishna had given to Arjuna. This is the time and memorial wisdom of the rishis. And then we took a sidetrack or a tangent and talked about the whole avatara. What is an avatara? Who is an avatara? What is the characteristics of an avatara? And when the avatara comes to the world, all those points were discussed. And then Krishna said, if you know the avatara in its essence, in its tattva, you will be liberated. Just like if you know yourself, you will get liberated. If you know the avatara, that also can liberate you. The reason is, if you know the wave, the essence of the wave is water. And if you know the ocean, the essence of the ocean is also water. So whether you know the Ishvara, whether you know yourself in its essence, essentially it is the same thing. So in that way, you will get liberated. And after that, Krishna gave the entire spiritual path, right? Vita raga bhaya krodha, manmaya mam upashrita, bahavo jnana tapasa, puta matbhava magataha. So that verse, you have to be emotionally intelligent and dedicate all actions to me. So that means it is the essence of the Karma Yoga. And then man maya, your mind get absorbed in me. It is the Upasana Yoga. Essentially, this Upasana Yoga and Karma Yoga gives the purity and stability of the mind. With that mind, Bahavo Jnana Tapasa, if you pursue the discipline of knowledge, Puta, you will be cleansed from all the impurities. And Mat Bhava Magataha, you reach my state. This is the ultimate teaching of the Gita. Then Krishna said, how do you know me? How do you worship me? Is it you need to worship me in the form of Krishna? Or should I use a particular ritual alone? Is there any exclusivity in this path? And that idea was completely ruled out in the next 2 verses. We talked about that, 13 and 14. Whosoever comes to me, in whatsoever form, I accept him. And a lot of people may settle in this world with smaller result. They may want only money or fame or name or health. I grant that desires too. But those who want to know me in entirety, that I will know. And then Krishna said, for knowing the Ishvara, you need to know the karma also. And knowing karma is not very easy. He said, karmano hya vibodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmano hya bodhavyam, gehanat karmana gadihi. Last week we talked about that. See, even the kavayo tattva mohidaha, the nature of the karma is very complicated. And even wise people get confused by the nature of karma. Because the karma is a double-edged sword. It can bind you and it can liberate you. So you need to understand that properly. So what is karma? What is inaction? And what is the nishiddha karma? You need to know. So we talked about that in detail last week. We said the karmas can be divided into multiple types, right? So the one is the Nithya Karma, Naimitya Karma, Karmya Karma, Prayaschitta Karma. These are the karmas that are allowed to be performed by an individual. Nithya Karma means the daily karmas, like brushing your teeth or taking the bath or whatever it is. And from a Vedic rituals perspective, there are certain rituals also. People can do that. But here, it is not just limited to the ritual. The entire Laukika karma as well as the Vaidya karma is covered in Krishna's words. So, Maimitya karma is occasional karmas. Like when somebody is sick, you need to go and see them. Then Kamya karma is the karmas you pursue to get your goals of life. For example, a promotion or a job or a house or a family, whatever it is, whatever goals you perform, that is legitimate karma. And Prayaschitta karma means the karma you perform to repent or neutralize the bad actions you have done in the past. So we talked about that. So the karmas on a high level is divided into two. One is the karma means the karmas, and akarma means vikarma. Vikarma means the karmas that you should not do. And the karmas that can be performed can be classified into four types. And then he said, you need to transform these karmas into an akarma mode. So that's what we are going to see. What is the difference between karma and akarma? Since this is a complicated topic, let me pause here. Anybody has any question on this?
Yeah, Rajesh.
Yes, Rohitji.
Yeah, I have a question. In chapter 3, Krishna says, convert karma into karma yoga.
Right.
Your actions should be Iswar Arpan Buddhi and Iswar Prasada Buddhi, the results. Right. But now we are saying convert karma into akarma.
Correct.
So are akarma the same as karma yoga?
Yeah, karma yoga is a means to reach the akarma. So essentially they are the same.
Okay.
So exactly that is what Krishna is going to say. Like you have to do the karma yoga, and that karma yoga will make the karma to akarma. But this is an excellent question, because if you do the karmas, right, the karmas are four types. The Nithya Karma, Naimitya Karma, Kamya Karma, Prayaschitta Karma. In the current state, I'm not following Karma Yoga. So what is going to happen? Any karmas I do, even if I'm not doing the Vikarma, what is going to happen? These karmas are going to create some mental impressions in me, which are going to control me in the later point of time. And when I do the karma, without Karma Yoga, I will be stressed, I'll be worried, I'll be anxious, all that problems will be there. Still, you're doing the good karmas, but still you will be under stress. You will be under problem. And what we want to do, we want to do the same karma. Nobody is telling you to get out of the karma. Nobody is telling us to leave the family and go to Himalayas. Nobody is telling you to drop the job and run away. Not at all. We want to continue to do the same karma. The only thing that we need to stop doing is vikarma, which is already there. So the first step is convert these karmas into karma yoga. And this karma yoga will take your mind into a different level. And once you gain that purity of the mind, and through the knowledge, when you reach that higher state, you, a self-realized master, will be doing the same karma, but for him it is akarma. So even if you're a karma yogi, you haven't reached that akarma state. The karma yoga is going to take my mind to a purified state, and the upasana yoga is going to give me the stable state, and then the discipline of knowledge is going to give me that knowledge, self-knowledge. And once I have self-knowledge, whatever karma I try to do, that karma becomes akarma. So that's the whole equation. So there is no change in the steps we prescribed earlier, but we are saying, what we are showing is where exactly this is going to end. That is the topic. So these verses, verse 18 to 24, is talking about a jnani, right? So we can put these things into three buckets. One is a bhogi, second one is a yogi, and the third one is a jnani. So initially I was a bhogi. I tried to do the karma, and these karmas are very painful. It is giving me stress and pain. From that state, I will move to a yogi state where I am doing the same karma, but I do with the yoga spirit. Still, the karma didn't become akarma, but that karma is going to purify my mind. When I purify the mind, when I pursue the discipline of knowledge, and when I get that self-realization, that yogi will turn into a jnani, and the karmas done by the jnani is the akarma. So the ultimate goal is akarma. And you convert the karma to a karma yoga state. And from that karma yoga state, you get into the akarma state. So in other words, Rohitji, to simply answer the question, akarma is the karmas performed by a jnani, a self-realized master.
Okay, thank you.
But that's a great question. That's good. So let's go to the verse 18. Anu, could you please chant? Before that, this is one of the most important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. This verse is considered as
Karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktah kritsna karma krit.
Karmanya karmaya pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayukta krishna karma krita. Let's see the literal translation. So the literal translation is yaha. Yaha is the universal pronoun. Universal pronoun means whoever he be. So the one, whoever he be, pashyate, sees or experiences. Akarmaha. Akarmaha means actionlessness. In karmani, the one who see actionlessness in action. And then cha means and. Karma means you see action in actionlessness. That person is sabuddhiman manushyeshu. That person is an intelligent person. My God, what kind of statement it is. The person who sees action in actionlessness and actionlessness in action, that person is an intelligent person. And then he tells saha, that person, yuktaha means he is a yogi. Who is that? Krishna karma krita. He has done everything that is to be done. This is appears to be an utter paradox or utter contradiction. Isn't it? Look at the verse. The one who sees action in actionlessness, and the action in actionlessness, and actionlessness in action, he is an intelligent person. So such verses are there in the Gita. So Vedanta, see, this type of paradox, this appears to be a paradox. So what is a paradox? What is the definition of the paradox? Something you cannot reconcile. Two thoughts, you cannot connect those two thoughts, or they don't fit together. That is the paradox. Those who studied physics, you studied the tin paradox. Very famous. A person going in the velocity of light, a person staying in the earth. The other person, when he come back from space after 5 minutes, generations would have happened in the earth. This cannot be reconciled easily. I don't know whether you watched the movie Interstellar. That movie has this whole idea. This is paradox. And some religious traditions and spiritual traditions. For example, Buddhism, some schools of Buddhism, not all Buddhism, but some schools of Buddhism, you deliberately uses this paradox. But here, what we are doing is Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta, the basic principle is, if something cannot be explained properly, if something cannot be understood properly, that teaching is not considered as valid in Advaita Vedanta. So something that appears to be paradoxical has to have that deeper meaning. So we need to deep dive into this verse and get the meaning. But you can see occasionally such type of verses in the Bhagavad Gita. So there is a famous story for this. I think I told this story, right? You know that. There is a Puranic story. The Puranic story is that, you know who wrote the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita? Who scribed the Bhagavad Gita? Anybody knows?
Yes.
Ganesha, Lord Ganesha.
Oh,
Lord Ganesha was Vyasa's, he wrote whatever Vyasa dictates. Lord Ganesha wrote it. When Vyasa approached Lord Ganesha had one condition. I can be your scribe, but you should not stop. I cannot sit idle. You have to continuously give me the messages. Vyasa agreed. But with a condition. What is that condition? You cannot write anything which you don't understand. And Ganesha being a deva, he can go on and on and on. Vyasa is a human being, so he needs some rest in between. So it is said, jokingly it is said that whenever he needs a rest, he just throws one such verse to Ganesha. It takes some time for Ganesha to understand this verse. By that time, Vyasa would have composed, had his coffee and come back and would have given another set of verses. So this is just a story for a joke, but let's try to understand. Let's try to deep dive into this verse, because this verse has a profound meaning. So try to understand this very carefully. So what is the secret of action? Work becomes a pain. When you have that lack of inspiration, when your mental state is unhealthy, when there is negative stress in you, the work becomes a pain. And such work is overwhelming and it is exhausting, and you need to take a leisure or a vacation to get away from that. I'm not talking about the tiredness of the body, but the tiredness of the mind. And a lot of researches are happening in the modern world. I was amazed to see a lot of researchers from Harvard and MIT, led by a lot of ancient Chinese teachers, very interestingly. They say that in the modern world, everybody is looking for a weekend. Why? It is true for me too. Because I feel tired after the work. And I need a vacation to recharge myself from, that's a phrase also. Because the work keeps you tired, makes you tired. That's not how one should work, Krishna. Krishna said, when you work, your body might be working, but you should not get tired. or you should not get exhausted. So that's one point we need to keep. And what is the intelligent action? In Taoism, Taoism is a very famous school of philosophy coming from ancient China. And a lot of these management books I talked earlier, coming from Taoism, they say no work is real work. The real work, when you work in the most efficient manner, the modern psychology call it as a flow. When you are in flow, you don't feel tired. You don't feel that you are working. You just work. That type of work, physically you are working, but you don't feel that you are working. I'm sure all of you might have experienced that state sometime or the other. In the most inspired moment of work, it might be cooking, or it means software programmers might have experienced that. When you are in that zone, when you are in that flow, you don't remember anything, you just work. And the best work comes out of that situation. There is a beautiful book. I told about this book multiple times. The book is Flow. The whole book is talking about this idea. The work becomes no work when, this is what the modern lot of management theory tells, no binding desires. When you perform without, means freedom from agency, when you are thinking that I'm doing this is the outcome, etc. When you have that thought, this work becomes a pain. If you have worry or anxiety, this work becomes a pain. And the work becomes intelligent when you have that ideal mental state. As the psychology calls it as flow. If you have that optimal mental state, you don't feel that you are working. And the best work comes out of you from that state. And means this is not exactly the akarma, but this is a glimpse of akarma. But if you really think about akarma, what happens? Akarma, so let me make it very clear. Let me simplify it to you. Whenever you hear about the word akarma, don't think that you are stopping to work. It just means that you are working in the most efficient manner. The body continues to be working, but you don't feel that you are working. That is the state we are talking. So the karma means I'm feeling that I'm working, I'm sweating and I'm stressed and I'm crying and I'm cursing everybody and I'm working. That is the normal type of work. When that work becomes so efficient, so smooth, I forget myself and I'm just executing the work. The work becomes a play. The work becomes a game. And that is akarma. So a lot of people get confused over this because they think that akarma means stop doing work. That is what it is. So the famous book, Advaita Vedanta book, Ashtavakra Gita, it tells inactivity of a foolish man transforms into an intense activity. And the activity of a wise person enjoys the fruits of inaction. Such a profound statement. A person, his inactivity, if he is a foolish person, okay, he might be taking a vacation. But after the vacation, he may feel more tired. His mind will be thinking this and that and creating a lot of work. Karma means anything you do with a karana. He may not be physically working, but mentally he would be exhausting. But a wise person, he might be doing the intense activity, but he is working like as if he is not working. This is such an important idea of life. How to transform our work into inspired, spontaneous, inspiring activities. This is the secret of Karma Yoga. When you practice Karma Yoga, after some time, initially you may have to do it, but after some time you feel that the stress level gradually reduces and easily you can get into this flow. Occasionally, we all experience that flow at times. And I'm 100% sure everybody in this call would have had that experience of flow at times. Just contemplate that moment. You might be working really hard, but you do not have feel that I'm working. And work, when you are in that moment of flow, the work ceases to be a burden. It won't be a tragedy anymore. And it becomes a joy and an inspiration. And the mind gives some values to the work. There's a famous book called the Tao of Science. This is a management book. It tells accomplishment is attained through the art of doing nothing. You can imagine. Exact same idea. So this is the idea. You might be working hard. The body might be working hard, but you do not feel that you're not working. So now let's try to understand what exactly it means. So when you think about yourself, who you are, what Advaita Vedanta teaches us is, as a jiva in the current state, my self-identity, maybe as Rajesh means, I'm identifying myself as a jiva. It's a combination of my physical body, subtle body, enlivened by consciousness. The problem is what? I take myself as a compound entity. I take my body as myself. I take my mind as myself. And I feel that means this is me. What Advaita Vedanta is saying is that your true identity is Atma, which is the consciousness in you. Yes, to interact with this time and space, to interact with this situation, you are using this body and the mind. If you remember, we had this extremely long discussions about this Swapna Drishtanta. In your dream also, you had a body, you had a mind, and you are interacting with the dream space and dream time. But that body and the mind was pretty much limited to the scope of that dream space and the dream time. And you had an existence beyond that dream space and dream time. But if you had a notion, if that dream is not a lucid dream, when I work, let's say that I'm doing a heavy lifting in the dream, I think that I am working. But what exactly is working is my dream body and the dream mind, enlivened by my dream, the consciousness. In the same way, when I work in this world, what exactly is working? My body, mind is working. But the real me is consciousness. That's not working. So a typical example is, look at a fan rotating. You can see extreme action in that fan. If you look at the physical body of the fan, but the power in the fan, the electricity is not doing anything. But in the presence of that electricity, the fan is rotating. Is the electricity the fan? Absolutely not. But because of the electricity, the fan is running. So in the world outside, my body and the mind is functioning. It always works hard. And even when you're sitting idle, the body and the mind is functioning. There are involuntary actions. The mind has a lot of chitta vrittis are happening. But the real you is the consciousness, which is not working. So when you look at a jiva, you can see both. You can see extreme activities for the anatma, which is the body and the mind. and you can see zero activity for the Atma, which is the consciousness. So the one who knows that I am Atma, the consciousness, and the body and the mind are the gadgets given to me, he knows that the Atma is not working. Atma is a witness of the work that is happening. He sees extreme action on the body and the mind, and he sees zero action in the Atma. This is very important. This is exactly what Krishna talks. That is why this verse is the essence of Advaita Vedanta. The one who sees extreme action for the body and the mind, and the one who sees zero activity for the Atma, he knows the difference between what is consciousness and what is anatma. Such person is a jnani, and he has accomplished everything that needs to be accomplished. This is the idea of this verse. So that's what it is. So, sorry. Okay, so this electric fan is running very fast, but there is no action for the electricity. In the electricity, in presence of electricity, the fan runs. So the human body acts continuously. Even when I'm sleeping, my heart is pumping, my metabolism is happening, air circulation is happening, all that is happening. But there is no action for the consciousness. The body acts in the presence of consciousness, Atma. So the one who knows Atma, he sees in action, even when my body acts extremely most hard way. And he sees inaction in action also. This is the essence of verse. In other words, the essence of this verse is the difference between Atma and Anatma. And that is why this verse is considered as the topmost verse, the ultimate verse on Advaita Vedanta. And in the whole world, if you really look at this, you could see this inaction and action. That is the nature of the universe. Look at the electrons and the protons and the neutrons. They are spinning at a high speed, and they are going around the nucleus at a high speed. But when you see the matter, do you see any motion? Right? Zero motion. So a scientist who knows the tattva of this matter, he sees action and he sees inaction. So what Krishna is saying is that by the means, remember the verse 11, Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upashritaha bhagato jnana tapasa puta matbhava magataha. The person who practices karma yoga, upasana yoga and jnana yoga, he comes to my state. When he comes to my state, he realizes that what is his true identity. In other words, he clarifies his own false identity. And he knows that I am consciousness, I do have a body and a mind, and he understands that my body and the mind works very hard, but I am not working. I am the witness consciousness. That's what it is. Let me pause. I know that this is the topic of the Upanishads. This is the ultimate of the Advaita Vedanta. So even if you have doubts, it is completely understandable. And this verse, please contemplate upon the meaning, because this is such an important verse. This is very, very, not very easy to understand. And this is being elaborated in the next few verses and culminates at verse 24, which is another most important verse of the Bhagavad Gita. This chapter has multiple verses that are the most important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. A lot of you will chant these words before you eat, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. So that's how it culminates. But This is such an important verse. Any questions or any clarifications or any additional comments you want to make? Please feel free. Let's pause here.
Rajesh, one just wanted to clarify something.
Yes, Rathika, please.
So you said, as per my understanding, as per this verse, the karma to akarma, the difference is when we realize that, like, the body, mind, and then the conscious separation, when we know that, that is when that karma becomes a karma. So that is the way it is explained here.
Correct.
So, but sometimes we have already explained about this swadharma, right? Sometimes when we get involved in swadharma, like as you just, when you started the lecture, you said that some of us feel that even in our work or something, like, right, that kind of a karma differentiation. It's not because we realize it is conscious, but then because it could be because it is our swadharma, we are part of that. So is it? Yeah.
That's a
does
great
it also?
question. That's a great question. Yeah. So let me paraphrase that question just for everybody, just to adding a little bit more color to that, because this question is very important. So Rathika's question is that the basic understanding of akarma is you have to be self-realized. But at times, I know that I'm not self-realized, and you all know that we haven't realized yet, but still we experience that flow. How can this happen? Is it because of swadharma? Rathika, if I understand correctly, this is your question, right?
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay,
thank you.
So now, yes, that's true. But one of the basic characteristics of the flow, you can read in that book also. When you read this book, Flow, the scientists, they try to recreate this experience of flow. Ideally, I wanted to be in flow every time I work, but nobody could recreate it. For example, if I want to be in flow tomorrow at 10 o'clock, that will not happen. You cannot get into a flow by doing X, Y, Z. It just comes to you at times. And hundreds of people were examined and evaluated. And what they found, there are several possibilities, they said, when you can get into this flow. One possibility is self-forgetfulness.
What's it, Rajesh?
Self-forgetfulness. When you forget yourself, that I am Rajesh, I'm doing this for XYZ. This is my deadline. This is what it is. When I'm forgetting myself, when I transcend my individuality, that is one state you often find people getting into flow. Isn't that true? If I'm overly conscious about myself, do you think that you will be in a flow?
No.
Absolutely not. So without knowing, this is the experience you get when you are in that self-realized mode. It's a, what happens in that inspiration, maybe whatever is the reason, maybe you like that work. Maybe that work gives you some great state, maybe the type of work, because I cannot say that every work I do is going to give me a flow. Dhoni gets into flow when he plays the cricket match. Even if the situation is tough, he can play. Like that, when I do the computer programming, I may get into that flow. Some people, when they speak oration, oh my God, it comes out of them. And like the Da Vinci was asked to redraw the smile of Mona Lisa. He said no, he couldn't, because that happened in that most inspiring moment. So this is the answer. You have to transcend that lower self in you and get into that higher self. And it happens sometimes because your mind will be elevated because of your samskaras, the type of work you do. But that is temporary. What I want is, initially, if you take 99.99% it is not flow. It is a stressed work. When you start practicing Karma Yoga, you see that more often you get into flow. Like initially it is 90-10, 90% stress, 10% flow, gradually increase. And once you gain that self-realized state, the promise given is you will be in that mode. You will be functioning like the most efficient manner. This is what you see in these great masters. Look at Krishna. The amount of hard work he has done is unbelievable. Look at Shankaracharya. In 32 years of time, he created all his commentaries and work. And I often think, how much time it is going, how many lives it is going to take for me to study that? Look at Jesus Christ. How many years he lived? 30. Shankaracharya was 32. Yaneshwara was 21. Vivekananda was 39. That's it. When Vivekananda gave that lecture in World's Parliament of Religion, he was only 29. Can you imagine? One person can conquer one country entirely. Like you can read the newspaper article, how popular he was, how easily he could do. All this is that action and inaction. But that's a great question, Radhika. It's a nice question. It's like another example is, a similar example is, when you go to deep meditation, you may not be self-realized, but if you're a good meditator, you feel happy and contented and peaceful and serene. But that serenity will last how long? Once you get out of the meditation, when you come back to the world, that is gone. But still it is better. And what we are talking here is how to extend that to a 24/7 mode. And such lives are blessed. But mind you, this is the highest state. So the effort will be put. We may not reach that highest stage of life in this lifetime. But any effort you put, it takes you to at least to some improvement. I can confidently say that with my own experience. I can see that at least the way you look at things, it changes. And Radhika, you brought another important point also, which is Swadharma. If you pick a karma which is aligned with your Swadharma, the probability of you getting into the flow is higher. That is another point. And
thank you, Rajesh.
The book Atomic Habits, one chapter is exactly the same topic. Any other comments? A lot of books are there on this topic, and a lot of researches are still being conducted on this topic. So this is one of the most important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So please understand that. And please don't think that this is paradox and religious languages are paradox. We are studying Advaita Vedanta. The beauty of Advaita Vedanta is everything has to be explainable. Everything has to be understood. So this is what it is. I love this verse. And actually, I remember this verse, studying this verse, it was an aha moment for me. Because just think of this. At least you see a possibility that, yeah, even while I'm working, I need to go to a vacation for different reason. I need to recover my body, or I need to do something for fun. It's not that the work is a pain and I wanted to escape through a vacation. No. And such people, When they go to vacation, what is going to happen? That vacation becomes a pain. I remember 5 years back, one of my colleagues was telling me, she went to Hawaii or Mexico or somewhere. I was asking her, like, how was your vacation? She said it was such a pain. What happened? They went to the reception and some of their booking was messed up. So this lady got completely upset with the receptionist and eventually it got resolved. But she said that argument and fight and frustration was in her mind. The entire vacation is gone. If you want to be happy, if you want to enjoy the life, do it every moment. Let's try to like our work. And if the work I'm doing, there is no scope of liking it, try to change it. And try to be happy every moment. And these teachings are going to help us. And again, you may ask me where to start. Karma Yoga. Start practicing Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga again means try to not to do tamasic karmas. Knowingly don't violate the rules. Knowingly not hurt anybody. You cannot do something which is beyond your control. Knowingly, consciously do not do it. Don't do it. And continue to do your work where you are the only beneficiary. I will be working for my own mortgage. I need money. I need everything, right? I need to earn. I need to spend. I need to take care of the family. All that has to be done. But along with that, try to do this Swati karmas, Panchamahayajna, weekly checklist, Bhutayajna, Manushayajna, Pitruyajna, Brahmayajna, and what is that? I forgot. Devayajna. So these are the 5 yajnas. Do it. Do Upasana Yoga every day. 5 minutes of meditation. If possible, start the day with the gratitude meditation. Do a 1-minute meditation every hour if possible. It can do magics in our life. More and more you will see that you get into that flow much quicker and stays longer. And eventually it will take you to the ultimate goal, but at least you will start seeing the changes. This is the real stress management. Otherwise, what is going to happen? They will teach you some technique. The famous joke is a trainer of stress management was admitted to the hospital because of stress. We don't want to get into that. Okay. If there is no comments, let's go to the next verse. So, Anu, could you please chant?
Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa vajjitaha jnanagnidattha karmanam tamahuh panditam buthaha.
So the attitude of a wise person. Here, wise person means a self-realized person. So he is not a bhogi. He is not even a yogi. He is a jnani, the one who has reached the highest. What would be his attitude towards life? So yasya, the one for whom, sarve samarambha, he takes all the undertaking. So a self-realized master, let's say that he is a householder. Immediately after the self-realization, he is not going to run away from life. Samarambha, he is going to take all the undertaking, all the dharmic undertaking based on his swadharma, he is going to do. But only difference is, Kama sankalpa varchidaha. There won't be any binding attachment or binding will. What is attachment and binding attachment and binding will? I associate my state of happiness with a particular outcome. For example, one activity I'm doing is, say, investing money in a stock. I feel that I'll be happy only if I get 10% return. So that is Kama Sankalpa. That's what it is. Binding attachments. I'm extremely dependent on a particular outcome. A self-realized master is not like that. Even a karma yogi should not be like that. A karma yogi is not dependent upon the result because he is offering that as an act. Means the work will be offered as a dedication to God, and the results will be taken as a prasada. But a jnani, it is out of knowledge because he don't have anything to accomplish because he is already in that ultimate state of happiness, but he will undertake every action. Kama sankalpa varjitaha. Then he tells, jnanagni datta karmani. He has already burned all his karma in the fire of knowledge. In the fire of knowledge, he has burned all his karma. Means he has shifted his identity from the body mind to the Atma. And he tells, tamahu, tam ahu, that person is called as Buddha by the sages as Pandita. That person is known as a Pandita. So a person who undertake all the activities that is to be done without any binding attachment or without any binding demand. And he who has burned all his karmas in the fire of knowledge by understanding the Atma properly, that person is considered as a wise person. The word Pandita, now it is even got into English. The conventional English meaning is, if you are an expert, that person is called as Pandit. Pandit is a Hindi word, and from Hindi it came to English. So he said that he is a financial expert, he's in as finance Pandit, a computer Pandit, a computer guru, etc. You hear, right? So that's not what we are talking here. Here Panditaha means Atma Vishaye Buddhi, the one whose mind has clearly understood what is Atma. That is what is Pandita. Pandita literally means the one who has Panda, who knows the Panda. Panda means Atma, or the self. So a person who has known the self and who undertake all actions without any binding desire or binding demand, that person is known as a Pandita. That is the attitude of a wise person. And such a person will see action in inaction and inaction in action. So he understands the nature of karma and akarma. He is already established in the higher self. He is not under the control of the lower brain. So evolution, you can read this in Daniel Goleman's books multiple times. See, the human brain, when it takes, the brain has multiple levels, right? So there is a reptilian brain for each one of us. And then there is a mammalian brain. And then the highest brain is there, the human brain. Most of us, we work as a reptile or as a mammal. Most of them, we do not use our human brain much. But such a person who is a self-realized master, he will be looking or using the highest state of his brain because he can act without stimulus or binding desires. Such a person is the true spiritual person. He may not be wearing an orange robe. He may not be just giving all these nice words, but he is a Pandita, not a fool who just go to Rishikesh and trying to meditate and fooling everybody. That person is not the real spiritual person. That's what Krishna tells. So we covered 2 verses, 18 and 19. So 18 tells the wise person is the one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action. That person is considered as a great person or a noble person. And then we said such people, when they won't leave the work, they do all the work, but they do without any binding desires or the binding will. Such person is known as a Pandita. Now I would like to request you to think about the meaning of this chapter. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So Karma Sannyasa means renouncement of karma. Is it you? I mean, what does that mean? Are you just physically renouncing all the karma? No, that is why the qualifier is there. Only through knowledge you are renouncing karma, not by not doing the action. So that's why the chapter is known as Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Very good. That's the summary of these 2 verses. I know if you don't mind, you can chant these 2 verses and then we can do the closing invocation. And from there, we can go to the Q&A.
Karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktah kritsna karma krit yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamahuh panditam buddhaha.
Thanks, Anu. Now let's do the closing invocation. We can do the Purnamada Purnamidam.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.